All right. Hello, everyone. This is Oriana with Fanoos magazine. I am sitting down with Miss Julie Edwards, all the way out in San Diego, California. She is our cover story for this year's Vintage and Golden Era issue, which is my favorite era issue to produce because I love recording the stories of the vintage and golden era dancers. So thank you so much for joining me. I am so excited to talk to you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So tell me, just how long have you been dancing and performing?
I started in 1976, and I've been in and out of it, but I actually did. I stopped it and did some bodybuilding for a while, and morphed and then morphed back, morphed my body back into it. So yeah, I come in and out of it, but I've always managed to keep my name out there and people remember me, and I've always managed to get back in there and just pick up where I left off. So it's been good for me. Definitely been good for me.
So what kept you interested in belly dance then, if you were kind of coming in and out, and what got you into it in the first place?
Well, I'm originally from England. I was born in England. My first school I ever went to was in Singapore. My dad was in the British Navy back then, and he got out of the Navy, and we emigrated to South Africa. And we lived there for over 8 years. A lot of my schooling was done there. And then we went back to England from there because at that time the apartheid was hitting and a lot of people were losing possessions, and my mom and dad, we were at their mercy. I have two other brothers, and they decided we needed to leave there and sell the house, and we went back to England, and then we emigrated to America. And we only got to do that because when we went to South Africa, my dad's brother came to America. So they talked us into coming to America. And even then, it took us a whole year to go through all the green card stuff and naturalization. And then coming to America, I didn't know very many people. And I thought I saw an ad in one of the supermarkets, a little paper ad stuck to the class, and it said belly dance lessons. And I thought it was similar to like go-go dancing, the dances they used to do back in the day. So oh, I'll try that. I wanted to meet some friends, and I always enjoyed dancing. So I went to the first class, and I thought, oh, what is this? I'd never heard this music before. And the lady that taught the class, her name was Maruha. She was from Morocco, and she had a heavy, heavy accent. And all I remember her saying to us, go do a circle here, a circle there, a circle. So, but anyway, so I ended up doing the class every week, once a week. And I saw the first belly dancer ever, I think like a couple months. I'd never ever seen one before. And a friend of mine took me to this club in Anaheim called Cascades. And yeah, it's pretty well known out there. I think there's a documentary done on her dad's The Fez, which he owned both of those. Anyway, so, and I thought, wow, I want to be just like her. And within 9 months, I was on stage. But it it was different back then. You didn't have the social media. You had word of mouth, and teachers would tell refer you to places and things. So I did it. I got out there, and then I saw another lady dance, and I said, oh, I actually humbly asked her if she would teach me. And her name was Nadia. And she was Orange County lady. And she actually was taught by a musician, because they didn't have any belly dancers in Orange County back in those days, California, Orange County, California. And she said he put bells on her ankles because no one really knew how to play zills back then. So that helped with the music and compensate for zill playing. And he actually taught her how to move. And she was one of the first belly dancers in Orange County. And she progressed from there, and she was a great dancer. But back in her day, we never had social media, so not a lot of people know of her. So I actually did a special Facebook page for her, and it's called Nadia. And she sent me pictures, and I tried to put them up, but I think we've gone through everything now, so it's out there still, and waiting for more stuff to be put up there. So
Oh,
anyway,
wow.
I know
Yeah.
a long-winded thing. That's
No,
where.
no. No, that's fascinating. I had no idea you had moved so many times and to leave South Africa during apartheid. That's quite a
Yeah,
journey to get
yes.
all the way here and then randomly take belly dance classes. What an experience.
And another thing, I was painfully shy. I don't know how I did it, but sometimes that's your inner magic comes out when you've kind of been shy and like not many friends, just because I moved so much. I don't even remember how many schools I ever went to. I cannot count them. It's crazy. So anyway, that was my journey into the world of belly dance.
That's quite a journey indeed. So I'm always fascinated by, like you mentioned, the Fez Cascades, these nightclubs where belly dance in America really started to take roots and people started to understand what it was. And it was all about the exoticism and the fantasy of it. What was it like dancing in these nightclubs in the 70s and 80s?
It For me, I really didn't know areas, and I was kind of plonked into Hollywood, and I came from England. I'm thinking, Hollywood, wow. I was like, wow, I'm famous. But it was the dirtiest part of the area. Well, it was the places I danced were on Hollywood Boulevard and Sunset Boulevard. But when you're in England, you think of this glorious place, but some of it's so seedy and dank, and it's not what I thought it was going to be. But I just persevered, and I enjoyed it. I actually danced 6 nights a week in the beginning. I did parties on top of that. My toes literally were split and hanging off because I would not stop. And I actually did lunch times too. So, and yeah, I was driving a long way as well. And there's other stories where I had to pay to get a driver's license because I didn't go to school here. And I had to buy my own car, and I had to walk to work to get money to pay for all this. And it was just such an achievement to have done all this in such a short time. And I'm going off subject, But I always tell people here, you do not know what you have in this country. Because I never would have believed all this would have happened to me in England or South Africa. So it opened up a whole new world for me.
That is a very good point. And I do think when people think of Hollywood, they think of old Hollywood glamour, like
Yeah.
the silver screen and the opulence of it. But what you're describing is that not only did you randomly take classes, but you were in it so fast and you were really working it. You were busting your behind to do all of these shows in such a short amount of time.
Right. And another thing is costumes. I didn't have costumes, and you had to make your own. And it was so difficult to get stuff to make costumes with. But I was lucky there was a place in Orange County, Anaheim area, and he was a little Turkish guy. A lot of the girls from LA will know this person. His name was Fikri, and he had a place called the Turkish Emporium, and he had all these coins and chains and records, which were hard for people to get if you didn't have a store around there. I mean, it was very difficult. But he used to help. He used to do kind of jewelry making. He'd make our belts with the chain links and stuff. And also, this is where Harry Saroyan, I'm sure you've heard of Saroyan coins, but you mean we all knew him there and he knew all of us, and his coins were great and finger symbols. We were very lucky in that area because that was a little niche where all this was there for us. But even then, you still had to make costumes and you still had to music and things. But then again, all we had was live music. We were spoiled in that area. But you mean that was what I accomplished in that area. But I know New York and some of the other areas were pretty good with supplies and musicians and clubs. So that's connected to all that as well.
So, what are some of your most memorable experiences from those club days and those early gigs that you had? Did you have any strange run-ins or any funny stories you can relate?
Yeah, there was always this one funny story. I did work John Belazikian. I don't know if you've heard of. He took me under his wing, and the teacher I had was his star dancer. So we were a big family like that as well. And I actually, one of the memorable moments is I'm actually on his CD cover called The Magic of John Belazikian, and he did a little routine called Julia's Dream. I don't know if you've seen that album. I'll take a photo. I'll send you a photo of it. But yeah, and back in the day, you can get on CD covers pretty easy now, but then it had to be professionally photographed and put out there. And we don't need CDs anymore anyway. we do. We kind of do, but it's so easy now to get music. I was terrible at trying to get music just because there was always live music. I didn't have to work at getting CDs or cassette tapes back then, and even LPs. They had to use as well. And let me get back. I'm going off subject. One of the funniest moments was this. I was in the club. It was called Apadana, and it was in Newport Beach area in California. And it was packed to the gill on the weekends. And they had this little rambled out stage that used to come out on rollers. So we could be up out of the audience's way. So one night I'm dancing around. We always used to go out for tips. And this guy was trying to tip me. And I always knew how to shimmy my way out if I could see it was not going to be a good place tip. So he did this, and I was here, and then he proceeded to do this. So he was coming from behind to place a tip in the front area, and I scooted out of there, and he fell flat on his face off his chair in the middle of the stage, this full room of audience, and they applauded so hard. It was the funniest thing. Anyway, that was a funny one. Then there's horror stories. The dressing rooms are horrible. There's always, you could find peepholes. You had to always look for peepholes because they'd always be near the office. I even used to hear sometimes it sounded like rats in the ceiling, and they were up in the friggin' ceiling. And I always end up, to this day, I will turn off the light, put everything on that I need to, or half dress underneath. I will never dress fully in a dressing room like that. So just, and the peepholes were, you would never believe where you'd find them. And even if you couldn't, either you knew there was some there. Yeah, they were horrible, horrible.
I think that's the modern version of that is finding hidden cameras when you go in your dressing rooms.
Oh, that's right, yes.
And checking for double-sided mirrors now.
Oh yeah, I never even thought of that. Back in the day, they done that. Yeah.
See, yeah, non-performers just don't know. They don't know the struggle.
Right. That's always best. Turn off the light, get it all on, and then finish up with the light on. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So those are some winners. And trying to see. Yeah, and then also back then, a lot of the owners expected you to sell drinks and sit with people. And you know, you didn't, if you were a good dancer, you didn't have to do that. I mean, if they did that today, they'd be put in jail for sexual harassment. Right? Well, not like that exactly, but this day and era, that would not go over well. But back then it was different.
I think you're referring to like I have heard and I have seen dancers say like, oh, they want you to go flirt with the customers to like get them to buy you drinks and things, right? Or to buy just to stay longer and keep drinking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it was different. So, what's I have some other memorable moments. Like I said, I was on a CD cover. I was a magician's assistant for a while. He found me dancing somewhere and said, "Oh, I'll train you." And I had to jump out of a box and hand him the hoops, and they all came apart and they all came together. Anyway, but that was something kind of out of my league, but I did it. I got in there and did it. It was fun. And I'm also in a book. I used to make a lot of costumes. I ended up actually designing costumes for a lot of dancers. They bring me out costumes and say, "Oh, you made this." I said, "I have no clue. I don't remember it at all." And right now, a couple of them have managed to get me back into it. But I can't make them for what they sell them now. It's crazy. The costume world now, everyone expects stuff really cheap, but I tell them I can't do it. You mean, for my work and for what they get them for, I just can't make them for today. And a lot of them bring those costumes they get cheaply from Egypt or China, and I've had to fix them for them. So it just shows you. So
Speaking of costumes, that's actually a great question leading into you're an AMCAB dancer, which is American Cabaret for those that are not aware. And go do your research, folks. Um, but AMCAB costumes are typically different than
yeah,
especially the modern Egyptian costumes. So when you were making your own costumes to perform in, what were some elements that, oh, kitty cat, that were important to include? Like, how would you describe AMCAB costuming to someone who doesn't know the difference?
first of all, no elastic. A lot of that's what I have to fix on some of these. They say, oh, we stood on a skirt and it went down. Can't. It went down by, you mean, I said, yeah, you can't go around like with a skirt like that. It's gonna come down if you got to reinforce it. And even in the bra back, a lot of them are using elastic, and that to me is a no-no. I don't know how they do it. It it doesn't keep you right in my by my book. But everything, and I think that's at the end of the thing. I think every dancer should have a bra and a belt. I think they should be separate. But that's my old school way. But I think it's a better costume, and it's sturdier, and it actually accents the moves better, the dance moves. You mean the belt with the fringe and the coins, or the coins. But that was what it was all about. The fringe on the bottom will accent a hip movement. So yeah, and a sturdy bra reinforced with double hooks, and everything was flat worked, flat beading, because we couldn't get that. Another reason for that is we couldn't get appliques like they have today. So, and then the beading would reinforce the bra cup as well and make it firmer. But I mean, that's how it was, just because we couldn't get stuff. And I think even did that with they had a lot more flat work than they do today, and fringe.
Yeah, the fringe definitely, the coins, you're right, the flat work beading. That's a really good point. That's actually
It,
really smart too. Yeah,
it, it, it makes everything sturdier.
absolutely.
But sorry, guys.
What are some
Everything.
other things that you wish people or students or instructors even would know about American Cabaret? What details do you think have gotten lost in time?
Um, zills, zills, improvisation, um, dancing out of the veil, not with the veil. Well, you dance out of it and then with it. Not a lot of people know how to do that. I have people coming to me and I'm showing them, teaching them how to dance out of a veil. That is all. It's good to know all of that, and I always say, even though you got hooks, even though you have hooks on your costume, always safety pin over them, because you mean I have had mishaps. Luckily, nothing's happened, but I've had hooks break. And to this day, I will safety pin over everything. And how to use makeup right. You mean in different situations? Well, now we have social media, so that's a whole different ball game for makeup. And I always say, always have business cards about you, no matter where you're at, and have an extra costume as backup. And my last thing on that note is always leave a good impression.
Yes.
Always leave a good impression, no matter where you're at.
1000% sage wisdom.
Yes.
So about the zills,
Yeah.
that's become kind of a hot topic as of late because more people are saying that, it's becoming a lost art. And
Yes.
of course, in American Cabaret, like you guys got your zills at the first. You guys
Right.
were starting with zills. You didn't dance without them and you learned it simultaneously. A lot of people don't play them now. So, what recommendation would you have for students that are getting into zills after they've already been dancing for a while?
There's a lot of great YouTube tutorials out there. They have so much more at their fingertips today with all this social media. They're very, very lucky we didn't have that. And we weren't hired. We were not hired in a club if you couldn't play zills and you can dance out of your veil. That was a set routine. You start out, they slow down the music like Taksim, and you do the veil work, speed it up, you do floor work, and then you would do a drum solo and exit. Now, some of these musicians back in the day, if they felt, they wouldn't tell you, but some they'd keep you up there for an hour. You couldn't go. If they thought their audience was happy and they were going to make more money, you were up there for however long they wanted you up there. So then you go out around the audience and milk it for tips, or just keep it going that way, because that would get difficult, especially with Greek music. Oh, yeah, they were extra fast with their routine. The music was, yeah, and I had started out with Greek music. It took me a long time to slow down. Yes. A
You're
lot of
reminding me of my
lot of turning,
beginnings.
a lot of turning.
Yeah, you're reminding me of that. We have a large Greek community here in Tampa, and I started my
Oh,
first live music experiences were with Greek music and the bouzouki player.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh,
Very predictable. And if they wanted a singer on, you were off the stage quick.
yep,
I,
that's true.
if they had a singer and they knew they could make a singer, you were, we're done with you.
What would you recommend for students that are hoping to get into working with a live band? We have some projects that instructors have started where they're assembling a band and, they're having students learn with them. Or sometimes you go to a festival and it's, oh my God, they have a live band because it's so rare now. And that's intimidating for a lot of dancers.
Yeah, I do notice a lot of them do choreography, and nothing against it, because I've done choreography. It's not easy for me because all I used to do was improvisation, but I made myself do it just because. And I think choreography for me takes away my feeling and my facial expression, because I'm counting too much in my head or making sure I'm doing this in the right way. And to dance with a group of people too that's challenging. So I think if a student today that's all they've done is choreography, it should be very easy for them to just get out there and improvise and just put on any music and just play with it. You mean use your basic belly dance moves. Guarantee you can make something out of it. And I think it's easier for, like I said, somebody that's done choreography, but I think the teachers today should give options of both and make them do this stuff maybe the way, that's an idea, the choreography, and then make them do it their way. Let them get out there and improvise with it. The same piece of music. That might help.
I love that. I love that idea. Yeah, best of both worlds for sure.
Right. So that's would be an option to help a student get further.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What else would you like to see in the future of belly dance? You know, obviously you've said social media, 1,000% correct, changed everything. And we've had I would arguably say quite a few changes in the world of belly dance, even in just the time I've been doing it. So what would you like to see moving forward? What changes, or would you like to see anything come back or go away?
Um, I'd like to see the pay. You mean, to me, the pay is still where I got paid back in the 70s. And I think a lot of people tend to undercut, but that's the nature of the game. You mean, that's going to happen anyway. So that's hard. And I'd like to see more live music. Because I think now there's way back when I was doing it, they had very few dancers and more musicians. So it was easier for us to get a work and get decent pay. And even parties, they haven't changed the scale of pay. I mean, I was back then I was getting $200 for a party, and I don't think they get that much more. I mean, it depends, and you do have to work with the person that's hiring you. You mean, sometimes they can't afford it, but if you negotiate, but keep your level of what you're going to go down to and keep it in the middle there, don't go lower. But I mean, it's difficult because there's so many out there, and it's changed. It's more big stage shows. We don't have that intimate club environment anymore. And I see lots and lots of competitions. We never had that either. So, but that is another way. I mean, that's hard. A competition's hard because you're being judged by different people that have different likes and dislikes. So, you mean, it's very different. And then some of them make you pay zills, some of them don't. So you you can win one competition and not the other. So to me, it's kind of, it is what it is. But that is because I did bodybuilding competition, and all the only people that make the money are the people that put on the competitions. In my book, yeah, there's no win for anyone except the people that do the competitions, which is good. They're smart to get on that right away and have them anyway.
So you've talked about a few of your teachers, like John Bilzekian taking you under his wing, and your first teacher, Maruba from Morocco. Do you have any other dancers that you're inspired by, either vintage or modern?
Yeah, I did uh, actually, Tonya Tiana's, they do belly dancer competition of the year, the universal competition. She took me under her wing and she gave me my first job dancing at lunchtimes. They had a restaurant back then. So yeah, she was good inspiration for me. I mean, I treasure her. She's she's been there throughout my career. Um, yeah, and I've seen lots of very, very good dancers, and I've picked up moves, from here and there. And because really back then, a lot of it was you watch people and do it your own way. I had not much structure. It was more watching and my teacher showing me how she did it, and I just picked it up like that. And I've been to a few workshops. I have taught some. I've taught costuming and dance, And that is a whole nother game, is teaching dance. You mean when you're dancing and then you got to slow it all down and teach it, that's a whole different ball game. So yeah, that's a challenge as well. And I didn't like doing that, but I made myself do that too, because I thought, well, it makes you a more rounded dancer to know all this stuff. So yeah. And
Are
then
there any modern or current dancers that you like watching?
yeah, there's a few of those. There's a couple of the Russians that are in Egypt dancing now. I like them, but it's different. It's different because you mean they do more isolation pop things. Back then we were smooth and fluid, so it's definitely changed. Yeah, we didn't do a lot of the isolation stuff back then. It was more like smooth stuff. Smooth. But you kind of pick up a few here and there too. I have from watching, yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about American Cabaret or your career or anything that you
Yeah,
want to
I was gonna,
impart?
yeah, I was gonna tell you I am published in a book, which was amazing to get published in a book for my costumes. And it's in a book called The Costume Maker's Art, and it's by Tom Boswell. I don't know, I don't think it's in print anymore, but it was a lovely I'll send you a picture of it. A lovely hardcover book, and I was so proud of that. And what else? Yeah, and then the CD cover, and I've danced everywhere. Israel, England. I mean, I went back to my roots and did a TV program there. They interviewed me there, and TV here, just everything, all over the place.
All
So,
right. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for sitting down with me and telling me everything. And I will get all of those photos and links to everything that you've done. I'm
yeah.
sure people will love just hearing your stories and reading about everything that you've done.
Did you ever do? Have you ever heard of Jarita? I'll tell you a fun. There used to be a actual mag. Anyway, they used to do a costume issue each year, and I won one of the years. And it was funny because they were saying, yeah, a lot of people got their issue without the cover photo on it. I guess my picture was on the cover, and the mailman or somebody had ripped off the front. It was funny how it. Yeah,
That is so funny.
I'll send you that picture.
Yes, please. I want to see this cover photo that the mailman was stealing because you were probably so hot and beautiful.
And now I actually am dancing with a lot of fire. And oh, and there's a lady that asked me to help her with her YouTube music. And it's inspired by the House of the Dragon HBO Max series. And it's just gotten out on YouTube. We should maybe put that up. And it's called Fire and Blood by Becky Bishop. She'll love this. And me and my troupe, we did the video part for her. So that just came out too.
So you wear a lot of different hats.
Yes, I try to go beyond and beyond, above and beyond. Keep in there like that.
So if people want to contact you, how can they contact you? What's the best way to find you?
I guess Facebook. I have Julia's Dream, which is like my road to where I've gotten now, and it's about the piece that John Belazikian did for me. So I call it Julia's Dream, and I attribute it to him for being in my life, and then my teacher and stuff like that. I have that on Facebook, and I'm under Julie Edwards. And then I have the Fire Flames, which is my group of fire people. So any one of those is good.
All right. Well, thank you again so much. I can't wait for this to come out, and I will speak to you soon. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoy the issue and stay tuned for more.